Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Andre Seegers and Ted Xan Shadow Wiesen to discuss all the latest information released on Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, including Andre's playtime and his interview with the developers. So let's get started. So Andre, I guess we should probably start with you since you're lucky enough to get the interview with the developers, specifically Junichi Masuda and Shigeru Omori. So what was that like?
So, yeah, I mean, first a quick story. So I went to Nintendo to play Pokemon, and the original demo was only for about an hour. But then they told me while I was there, it's like, hey, you have an interview with the Pokemon creators. I'm like, what? I was not told about this. And they're like, it's not for a couple hours, so feel free to just hang out and play more Pokemon. I'm like, okay, great. So, I mean, that was, I was really looking forward to that, but I had to come up with all these questions, on the spot. With having, my history with Pokemon. I haven't played it since the first generation, really. So I was scrambling to come up with questions for the interview, all the while playing the game and talking to the PR reps there. So that was a very hectic time. Anyways, as I was conducting the interview, or especially more so afterward, I realized, this is one of the coolest things I've ever done for GameXplain, I think. Able to interview two of the lead developers on, not just this Pokemon game, but, in the Pokemon franchise, really.
Do you know how much I would pay to have an interview with Junichi Masuda? Why can't I be you right now?
I mean, that's the thing, me, again, I really did like the first generation Pokemon, I just kind of fell off the wagon. But, even not having kept up with the franchise that much, I knew this was a very special opportunity, and I really did feel honored to be there, and that's not a feeling I have that often. This is definitely one of the coolest things I've ever done, and I wish I had time to prepare better questions, but I feel like I was able to scramble together some decent ones at least, and I was really happy with how that interview went. It was just really cool to meet those guys, and it really is one of the coolest things I've done.
I agree with Ted. I'm just jealous. I saw a lot of people were like, why wasn't Derek the one asking the questions or doing the interview or doing the demo? I'm like, well, that's because you're West Coast and you have access to all that stuff.
Because I'm 20 minutes away and you're a 5-6 hour flight away.
Yeah, so that's just not going to happen. Oh, well, but I think, overall, I think all this new information we got about the game has probably made me more excited for it than I've been, since its announcement, really, because it really shows to me that they're changing it up. It's not going to be just the same old thing with a coat of paint and here's some mega evolutions to go along with it. No, we got the Soaring, we got the PokéNav Plus, and of course the new megas, and just it seems to be coming together extremely well that I'm really just excited to play it. Yeah,
I mean, I can say, because I got to play the first 3 hours, or I got to play the game for about 3 hours or so, although I didn't make it very far. I made it to the first gym, and I can say the new navigational stuff, the area nav and the dex nav are really helpful. Again, as one who hasn't played Pokemon in a while, I really did like these additions, because it does make it easier to track down, some of those Pokemon, especially when you have, over 700 of them now. These are good additions, and I think it actually is a good idea to bring back people who haven't played the game, maybe since the original game. It really does even make getting back into it even easier. And I did find myself, getting a little bit hooked on it just in my small amount of playtime with the game. Leveling up and catching Pokemon. I'm like, oh, darn it, there it is. It's got its hooks into me now.
No, I basically agree. I think, however, there are some things that I really like and some things that I'm a little bit less enthusiastic about. I think the first thing that sort of made me go back in a negative way was the announcement that the game basically runs in the same engine as X and Y with no upgrades. Meaning that, the entire game isn't in 3D, and if you turn the 3D on in battle, you still get slowdown, which is, to me, I think a shame, because I was hoping that with the extra development time that they would polish up the engine a little bit, but, I guess I can just leave the game in 2D. It's not that big of a deal, but it's still a little bit of a disappointment, but, there are a ton of things that seem really cool about the game. I think that the idea of being able to, specifically lock onto Pokemon and sneak up onto them in specific patches are cool. especially if they let you do that for certain rare Pokemon. Like, I actually remember in Gen 3, the original Ruby and Sapphire, there are specific Pokemon like Skitty or Chimecho, which had like a 1 in 50 or 1 in 100% chance of appearing. So, you know, if you wanted to catch them all, you had to run around in circles for an hour. And, you know, if they give you a thing that'll allow you to get those rare Pokemon easier, you know, I'm all for that, you know. Because if they really want somebody to catch all 700, they need to make it easy to get some of the harder ones.
Right.
I mean, just the idea that they set out right, that we want to be able to, we want people to be able to get all the Pokemon with just the 3DS games. And, you know, as somebody that finds trading up everything to be kind of a major pain, I really do appreciate that. I do like the fact that I can just, if I really wanted to, I can just play these 4 games and be able to catch them all.
Well, and what else I like about the sneaking mechanic too is actually, you know, maybe for the first time, really since Pokemon Snap, I would say, it kind of makes you feel like a true Pokemon trainer. Like you actually have to go out there and sneak up on these creatures, which isn't something you've really had to do before. And you know, you have to just, you know, make sure you're not going too fast. You have to be cautious. And it actually adds a little bit of excitement to it, really, right? So I did like that idea.
It adds the functionality even more beyond that, because we saw as you continue to use specifically it's called, I believe, the DexNav.
Right.
It levels up, and it starts out, you can just see the level of the Pokemon, but by the end of it, it showed search level 100. You have, you know, its level, its ability, the first move it has, how much potential it has. So people who want to, like, you know, are searching for specific types of Pokemon that have the stats that they want, it's again a lot easier. They have between this and the super training, they have a way to find the Pokemon that they need, and then a way to quickly train it up to exactly how they want.
Dude, the way that you're describing it, that sounds awesome. Like, one of the things that I know, especially people who do competitive battling, that you know, they will do is they will breed Pokemon, and then they will breed the same Pokemon like 12 times until they get the nature they want, or something like that. And, you know, they as time has gone on, the Pokemon games have made it easier and easier to get the Pokemon with like the right nature and the right IVs and stuff like that, so you're not just grinding until you happen to get it right. But, you know, it just seems like, you know, now they're not just restricting that to the daycare center, they're putting it into the actual, you know, wild battles themselves, which I think is actually a really smart decision, because I think especially once you get to the late parts of the game, I personally, at the very least, tend to skip most of the patches of grass I see, or buy a whole bunch of repels, and just stick to trainer battles for XP. But if, you know, if I know that in such and such patch of grass there is a Zangoose with a good nature and decent IVs, I'll go out of my way to catch that, even if I already have a team of 6 Pokemon that is working relatively okay for me.
So you describing that, like, you know, avoiding the grass, like, literally just took me back, like, 15 years to the first generation, remembering doing the exact same thing. You're just trying to get through, like, Victory Road or whatever, you're just trying to get through all that and make it to
and
the
you
end.
run into, like, 6 Golbats in a row.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, that DexNav just sounds amazing, and I love, again, making it easier by, you know, these Pokemon get registered just by seeing them in the wild. So those random Pokemon you sometimes see in towns, you talk to them, they get registered into the DexNav, and now you can search for them.
Yeah, like as I mentioned in the preview, I believe, there's a point where you come across, where are they, Beautiflies? Like, you see them in a cutscene. And from that point on, if I remember correctly, they show up, you know, on your DexNav.
Yeah, that's awesome, and you just randomly show up like that. It's so useful. I haven't been able to fully pick your brain enough to know for sure, but I believe it's the Area Nav, which is a new map system.
Right.
It sounds like it's a lot easier to travel around now thanks to that.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to try that out for myself, but basically now instead of having to access, like, going to a Pokemon and accessing Fly, you can just now tap on a city and basically fly right there. Now, that may still be dependent on having a Pokemon to fly. I didn't try it out for myself, but they basically, you know, at the least did streamline the process. And the Area Nav will also display other things too, like any secret bases that, you know, either your own or other people's you acquire through Street Pass or other means. They'll display them all on the map as well, or the Area Nav, I should say. And it'll also give you details about each area, like telling you where Poké Centers are or stores and whatnot.
That's awesome to have that much information at your fingertips. You can go to berries, and if maybe they even expand it, maybe they can even make collecting all this stuff, like visiting these places, that much easier. If you can choose on the area nav, just like, okay, I need to get these berries, so I'm going to go to this berry bush, or I want to go back to my secret base. I'm going to hit the secret base on the map and go fly directly there. If that kind of functionality is in there, this game will be so much easier as far as managing everything in the map, because that's one of the things I always, drove me nuts about past Pokemon games is I had to fly to a town, race out, remember where everything was,
it's one of the things about Pokemon is just that, like, you've got a map of an area, right, and you can never remember, like, you don't have enough, like, I guess, this is more a case in the old games when you had limited bag space, but, like, there'd be a TM lying around, and you didn't have enough space in your bag, but you didn't want to throw away anything, so you had to remember where it was and then come back, and, just having it listed on the map where such and such berry bush or such and such thing is, just makes everything all the more convenient, and I also think that'll make websites like Cerebi and Bulbapedia go down in traffic because people don't have to look up routes to figure out what goodies are hidden there anymore.
I was just gonna say, like, in this day and age, this only makes sense. Like, where you basically have to consult a wiki or a guide, or you don't have to, but everyone does, in order, to get everything in Pokemon. It makes sense to actually make that part of the gameplay now, incorporate it in, and make it a more seamless experience. You're not having to either access the 3DS's browser, or put it down entirely and use your computer or something to find, where things are.
I think it makes all the more sense with a remake as well, because it's not like this is a brand new game. Yeah, it's right. Like it's not like a brand new game. They have to keep things in somewhat of the same places. So, just allowing people to see where everything is from the get-go is just a nice convenience idea from the part of the developers.
Now, the last part of the new PokéNav Plus is the BuzzNav, which is probably the least impressive of them all. Yeah. It's just little tips here and there that come across as TV shows, though I do like the fact that they're using the old sprites for those TV shows. So it's kind of cute, but it's really doesn't seem to be anything substantial. Unless, did you see anything to tell you otherwise, Andre?
You acquire the Area Nav and Dex Nav pretty early into the game. I got those all before the first gym. The Buzz Nav, though, I didn't have at all. I think you acquire that when you reach whatever city that has, like, the company that runs it, or like a radio tower or something. I think the PR rep was telling me. But it is in the demo. And, in fact, it's the only nav device you have in the demo. And, yeah, it's just like, someone just giving you, like, random tips and whatnot as you play the game. It reminded me a little bit of, like, checking the TV in Harvest Moon and how it'll give you, like, random tips by that. So, yeah, I guess it's kind of cool if, like, you just look at the screen every now and then and see what's going on, but it does seem to be the least useful of the three. I'd definitely rather, have the Area Nav or Dex Nav up on the screen, so...
Well, I think that covers it for the PokéNav Plus, but one of the thing that, of course, everybody talks about, which is what we named the analysis after, is the new soaring mechanic, which really just makes the game like an old Final Fantasy, where you get the airship and you fly around and you can go anywhere and land anywhere. Of course, there's still limitations since it's Pokemon. You can only land on routes and you sit towns.
Wait, you can land in routes?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so... Ever since Gen 1 came out, I wanted the ability to actually fly around over the map on a Pokemon. Like, not just sort of go to a Pokemon Center or whatever. But, like, being able even, it's just the Mega Latios and Latios that allows you to do this, though, right?
That seems to be the case, yeah.
Okay. So, that's a little bit, whatever, but, I get that they want to make it super special. But it's just... I've been waiting for this for like 15 years. So, I'm just so... my eyes lit up when I saw that announcement. I am so stoked for that, for that mechanic.
So, yeah, here's what I don't get, right? Why is Pokemon, a remake no less, doing Skyward Sword better than Skyward Sword did? Like, this is what I expected from Skyward Sword. Like, I expected to be able to fly almost anywhere, land my loft wing wherever I wanted, and, go do stuff. Or, at least in a more expanded capacity. Whereas this game is doing what I wanted there. Like, fly around the world, go check out things, land where you want, and just explore. Like, that is what I wanted from that game, and it looks awesome here. Like, this is a really cool feature, and it does allow you to see the world in a whole new way, too, which should be cool for people coming back to the game, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, and they even add extra stuff there with the whole Mirage spots mechanic, because you can go completely off the beaten path. You don't have to, travel along routes or towns or anything like that. Go anywhere, and you can find these spots either on islands or floating in the sky where as best of my knowledge, is if you go inside, you have a chance to fight a legendary Pokemon. And they, listed a bunch of them off that can be in here, and
it's basically all of the major legendaries, right? Like the Ho-Oh, Lugia, the box legendaries for Black, White, and not Ruby, Sapphire. This is Ruby and Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl. So like pretty much every major legendary in the series. It reminds me an awful lot of post-game thing in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where you could do a side quest and unlock the ability to catch Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Please don't kill me if I mispronounce those. So it just feels like I really like that the Pokemon remakes always go out of their way to not only expand on the originals, but they always add in extras from other games that are seemingly unrelated, but it's just like, here, you beat the game, so here, have like 6 extra legendaries to go find.
And along those same lines too, I believe the developers mentioned in my interview with them that beyond just the legendaries, you can also reach areas using Soaring, which is where you'll find other Pokemon from other regions, and that's how you'll be able to collect everything, every Pokemon up to this point.
No, it's just really cool. This whole soaring mechanic and how they expanded that is really impressive, and again makes me very excited to play the actual game because it opens it up so much. Now, the only thing I found, and I saw a lot of people found this to be a detriment, is the confirmation that there is no trainer customization this time around.
Yeah, that was always a real disappointment in my eyes, mostly just because it was surprising how addictive customization was in X and Y. Like, it took me forever, but I eventually found a set of clothing that made my character look like the avatar I use on like Twitter and stuff like that. And I know a lot of other people like doing that, or just seeing what sort of ridiculous sort of costume combo that they could think of. And like, I guess I just don't want to harp on it too much because, it's not really like a major gameplay thing, but, it still would have been nice to have, I think.
Well, you got cosplay Pikachu now, right? So,
yeah, but you can't, like, give him his own costume. You just sort of pick from 5.
Yeah, it's it's a little unfortunate. I will miss it as well because I thought that was a lot of fun. I like the idea of... I think that's something people have been wanting for years, and when X and Y granted it, it was just a really cool moment because you had all this chance to make your trainer whoever you wanted it to be, even down to as far as colors. So
it does seem like a weird step back for what is going to be like a pretty progressive move for the game, especially the fact that it's using the same engine. Like, everything is there. They would just have to add some new clothing options.
I guess not. It's just not to be. But I find the design still pretty memorable and fun. So I can't harp on it too much. But it is that personalization that it's lacking, and that's the unfortunate part. I guess you brought up the cosplay Pikachu. I going back to your interview real quick, they revealed something that I found kind of interesting, which was the whole fact that the contests will be a little bit more fleshed out this time around, and actually even have its own little like subplot going on, similar to the animes where you're trying to become the best contest trainer, and you have a rival in that whole setting and thing.
That's right.
I thought that was really cool. Actually, that's a good way to get me to actually bother with contests, because that's content and stuff that could be really cool to experience and see.
Yeah, it seems really cool because in contests in Ruby and Sapphire, if I remember correctly, were just kind of there. Like, they were an extra thing that you could do in certain towns, but there was not really too much incentive to do it. It was just sort of an extra thing that they added. But like giving it its own sort of mini plot line to it, because they created a specific character for it. I think I remember seeing in one of the trailers. And you said that they have a rival. So, even if it's just a small thing, adding a plot line to it, even if you don't get any like gameplay rewards, it feels like it's more something worthwhile doing if it impacts the world in some way, as opposed to you just getting a kind of meaningless ribbon for doing it.
No, it really does seem like the game is being fleshed out and expanded upon, and make it worth buying, which is probably a good thing since it is releasing the same day as Smash Wii U, which is a insane decision on Nintendo's part, but what are you gonna do?
I think they're probably banking on people being out in a Best Buy or whatever and buying both just on impulse.
Yeah, I mean, they've done the same thing before too. I can't remember offhand, but they've done I guess even with like 3D World, Link Between Worlds, and they've done that in years past too. So it almost seems like they use the momentum of one release to enhance the sales of another release. You know, like that's the only thing I could think of. It does seem like contradictory on the surface, but like it must be working for them.
Maybe. I mean, if they keep doing it, I would assume so. But yeah, it's like I said, it's still crazy to me. But whatever. It's Nintendo's decision. I'm gonna play both eventually. It just one's gonna take precedence of the other, of course. Any final thoughts from you guys about all this new information on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire?
Well, the game still looks incredibly solid. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the original Ruby and Sapphire. Like, I still think that they're perfectly fine games. I just think they're not quite the best of the Pokemon series, but it definitely seems like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are adding enough to at least make me very interested in what they're going to be doing. Because I think that they've at least addressed some people's bigger complaints about the original Gen 3. Like, I can imagine that the Soaring would make specific watery sections of the map a little bit less painful, in particular. So, I like that they're doing that. I think just generally it's going to be something that I'm going to need to play before I can get a complete full opinion on. But it does look very promising.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, based on my playtime with it, I could feel us, starting to addict me or starting to get me hooked like the original game did all those years ago. Now, I can't say for sure whether I'll actually end up playing it because I've just been so busy recently, and that doesn't look to be changing anytime soon. But what I saw looked promising, and it does seem to be, based on what I saw, it really does seem to be like a pretty big improvement on the original, using what X and Y introduced just to enhance the original game. Plus, Soaring just looks awesome. So.
All right, guys, I think that about covers it for all the new info on Pokemon. I want to thank Ted for joining us for this, and be sure to check out Brain Scratch Comms, which he's a part of. And any other thing you want to plug, Ted?
Well, since I barely touch my personal channel, not really. Just go watch Brain Scratch. We're kind of funny sometimes. I swear.
Isn't kind of funny Greg Miller's thing?
Is it? I don't pay attention.
That's his new company name. Yeah.
Oh. I had no idea. Yeah. All I know is that these guys have recently had 50,000 subscribers, so that's pretty awesome. So let's get them on the way to 100,000. So
it really wasn't that long ago when we were at 50,000. So
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Pokemon and other things gaming too. Until next time, guys. Bye.